Well, good evening, everyone. And welcome to the Duke Women's Duke Women's Olympic panel. My name is Kelsey Kearney, for those of you who don't know me, and I am the Associate Director of Major Gifts for the Iron Dukes and the liaison for the WIN Athletics Committee. We are so excited to have you all here and are just really overwhelmed by the amount of people who registered and the people in attendance tonight. And I think it's just a testament to how important an event like this is. So thank you all for being here. This event was really the brainchild of our WIN Athletics Committee. So I do want to give credit where credit is due. And for those of you who are somewhat unfamiliar with WIN or WIN Athletics, this stands for the Women's Impact Network. And WIN is actually a group across Duke of women who philanthropically contributed to Duke in many different areas at a very, very high level. And so from this group, in 2018, WIN Athletics was formed, and it's now comprised of 14 incredible women, and it's a committee who's really committed their time, their energy, and their philanthropy to support Duke athletics, and more specifically, our female student athletes and our women's athletic programs. So this committee actually includes our very own moderator tonight, Laura Gentili, so we'll be hearing from her as well shortly. We're so grateful again for everybody in attendance, and I hope that you guys understand that this is helping us kick off a really exciting year and a very special year as we start to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Duke Women's Athletics and Title IX. So, a little bit of a run of show for this evening. You'll hear first from our Vice President and Director of Athletics, Nina King. I'll then introduce our moderator and 3 panelists, and they'll have a discussion about their experience at Duke and their experience in the Olympics and what it means to be a female student athlete competing on the international stage. So if we have time, we'll certainly field questions as well. So please put those into the chat box and we'll manage those there. So before I kind of pass things along to the people that you actually want to hear from, I did want to say a few things about, our Director of Athletics and Vice President, Nina King. It's been a very exciting few months, I'm sure for her especially, but for us, especially in the Duke community and the Duke staff, to have her as our leader and at the helm of Duke athletics moving forward, they're just really, really exciting things to come. And I think the future is very bright. So I will go ahead and hand it over to her and let her say a few words.
Kelsey, it's great to see so many faces this evening. And as Kelsey said, we're just so excited to kick off this celebration. 50 years of women's sports at Duke is really an exciting thing. At this point in 2021, we've got 13 women's sports. As you've probably seen in kind of our press releases and social blasts, our teams over 50 years have won 8 national championships, 12 individual championships, 64 ACC titles. But folks, the future is bright. Our women's sports at Duke are competing at a really high level. We've got so much potential, nowhere near the ceiling. And so we're thrilled to be able to support our female student athletes. We are fully funded on the scholarship side for all of our female student athletes. And at Duke, it's really a non-negotiable priority for us to invest in our female student athletes. And so we're just really excited to celebrate this year. We will bring you lots of content. This is the first event of hopefully many, and hopefully you all will come and celebrate with us in person in Durham in February, where we will host a gala night and really highlight all of our sports and our female student athletes, past, present, and future. It's an exciting time for college athletics. There's a lot of changes on the horizon. We've already started experiencing a major shift this summer, but we're really just looking forward to the next chapter in Duke athletics and beginning here now in the 21-22 year. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to hear from these 3 amazing Olympians, and we've got the very best moderator in the game in Laura Gentili. So with that, I will turn it back over to Kelsey.
Awesome. Thanks, Nina. Again, like I said, we're just really grateful for your leadership, and it's been clear, especially from me, and our WIN Athletics Committee and our Duke staff for many months now while we've been planning all of this, that this has been a huge priority to you and an emphasis, and we just appreciate how much you've made this an emphasis as well. So with that said, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the talent for this evening, as we'll call them, but our panel, you'll be hearing from Abby McGrath, Carla Overbeck, and Leslie Marx. Marx, and our moderator, obviously, Laura Gentili. And for those of you who don't know, but I'm assuming many of you do, Laura has had a tremendous career at ESPN, and she's currently serving as their executive vice president for commercial marketing and networks. So impressive to say the least. But I'll let Laura get into a little bit more about greater detail about the accolades and accomplishments of our panelists. But I did just want to recognize these women have not only represented the United States at the highest level, being the Olympics, but they've been Duke student athletes, Duke coaches, or in Leslie's case, both. And so we're just incredibly excited to have them here. Abby, obviously being a diver, Carla as a soccer, in soccer, and then obviously Leslie in fencing as well. So we'll hear more from them now, but I will hand it over to Laura.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's an honor to moderate this panel. So thank you to Nina. Thank you to Kelsey. Thank you for everyone at Win Athletics. I did want to go through the bios a bit of Abby, Leslie, and Carla, just because they're so accomplished, and so I don't want to leave anything to chance that you might not know about these women. So Abby, I'll start with Abby. One of the most decorated divers in Duke history. She won a silver medal at the 2012 London Olympics in synchronized 3-meter diving, and she competed in 2016 in Rio while enrolled at Duke Medical School. Pretty cool. She won Duke's first individual national diving championship in the 3-meter. She was a 4-time All-American, 5-time ACC champion, and 2-time ACC Most Valuable Diver. I don't know if I've ever heard that phrase before, Most Valuable Diver. That's awesome. She was ACC Women's Diver of the Year 2 consecutive years, All ACC Academic Team Honors 3 seasons, and she received her MD from Duke Medical School in 2018, and is currently attending emergency medicine physician. So incredible, right? World-class diver, now a doctor, and raising 2 young daughters. So we'll hear more from Abby. Leslie McFarland-Marx, most celebrated Blue Devil fencer. She won the 1995 Pan American Championship. In October of 2017, recently, only 4 years ago, she won the Masters of Fencing World Championship for ages 50 to 59. So still pretty active, still competing, still world class. She was an academic All-American, and she has a degree in mathematics from Duke, which I find impressive alone. As an English major, I find that pretty impressive. And received a PhD in economics at Northwestern and is currently teaching at Fuqua. So 2 for 2 in amazingness. And then Carla Overbeck, who you may all remember the 1999 World Cup when we beat China in the Rose Bowl. Carla did not take off her shirt, but she did nail the first penalty kick. And as the captain, she kind of just calmly walked back to her spot and didn't get a lot of fanfare. But an amazing coach here at Duke University, assistant soccer coach for 28 years. She's a Tar Heel, which we'll kind of gloss over a little bit. But literally while she was at UNC, they had a 95 match unbeaten streak. So I'm sure that you probably beat Duke a couple times during that streak. We won't hold it against you. But a captain of the women's national team. And when you look at all of the national teams in our country, none is more accomplished than the women's soccer team. And so I've heard from a reliable source, Julie Foudy herself, that Carla is the best captain and best leader she's ever played with. So we are happy to have you with us here and share your knowledge and your wisdom. And Carla, yes, is a member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame. So I won't belabor their accolades, but I just wanted to punctuate just how accomplished these women are. So I want to start off with a little bit of a reflection. You've probably achieved almost all of your athletic dreams. I did want to ask, sort of as a little girl, did you all 3 of you dream of being an Olympian? And then also, once you were pursuing your dream in college, did you think about the impact consciously of Title IX? Were you aware of the impact of Title IX? So Abby, we'll start with you if you want to talk about, if you did dream of your being an Olympian and then just sort of the impact Title IX had on you kind of in an explicit way.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, and I'm so happy to be a part of this event tonight. I wanted to be Olympian since I watched the 1996 games, and I was doing cartwheels around the living room, and I told my parents, when I grow up, I'm going to the Olympics. And at that point I was a gymnast, but injuries led me to diving, and that Olympic dream that was still alive in the back of my mind. And I was able to kind of work my way up through the national team and then ultimately make it in 2012. But I just remember being so inspired by, they called them the Magnificent Seven in Atlanta, and those gymnasts, and just watching them compete was just the most amazing thing that I had ever seen. And I actually got to meet Shannon Miller like a couple years ago after I had already gone to the Olympics, and I was like fangirling her. I met her, she did like a tour where she came to different gyms when I was like little, and I had a picture of her with her when I was like 6 years old. And I showed her that picture, and then I actually got to talk to her. And so that was really kind of a full circle moment for me. As far as the impact of Title IX, I think that's something that my mom kind of always instilled in me. She said growing up, we didn't have a lot of options. Like you could run track, you could play tennis, and maybe some field hockey, but there wasn't a lot for women's sports. And so she always wanted me and my sisters to be involved in sports, and was really excited for the way that I took my athletic career to the next level by going to college and having the opportunity to get a scholarship. And so I'm grateful for the shoulders that I stand on and the women who came before me to make this possible, because sports is really something that has such a positive impact on everyone's lives, particularly young women.
Carla, would you like to go next? Thanks, Abby.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I just want to say thanks for having me on as well. Unbelievable women on this call. It's incredible just to be a part of it. So thank you. When I was growing up, the Olympics only came around once every 4 years. And so I was glued to the set. It wasn't black and white. There was actually some color TV, so that was nice. But just incredible watching all the women that have gone before us, and very, very inspiring. It was unfortunate that we had to wait every 4 years to watch them, but just like Abby, I loved the Olympics. I wanted to be an Olympian. Women's soccer wasn't in the Olympics. And our team fortunately fought really hard to get it into the Olympics in '96. And so just loved being a part of that first ever women's soccer event in the Olympics in '96 in Atlanta. Feel really fortunate to be a part of that. And, just how Title IX, basically we were the product of Title IX and all the hard work that the women had done before us. And so I feel extremely grateful and fortunate that, we basically reaped all the benefits for all the hard work that the women had done before us. So a thank you goes out to all of them.
Leslie?
Let me reiterate also, thank you very much for the kind introductions. And I have to correct, in your introduction, you had like a most decorated fencer. I remember seeing that written at one point in the past, but since then, Becca Ward and Ibtihaj Mohammed have come through the Duke program and are far more decorated than I am. But turning
a ton of notoriety to fencing, hasn't she?
That Duke's done well with fencing Olympians. One of my earliest memories is watching the 1976 Olympics on television, and it was a black and white television. And I grew up in Texas, and it is only because of Title IX that I was able to play school sports. I was the first year that my school they were forced to offer athletics for women. And so I played basketball and volleyball and ran track that year because the math teacher was tall, so she became the basketball coach, and they created a women's girls sports program kind of out of nothing. And then when I came to Duke, we were still evolving, and back then there was only NCAA competition in fencing for one of the weapons. There are three weapons and fencing, foil, épée, and saber. And the women were only allowed to fence foil. It was considered too heavy, too masculine, I suppose, for us to be fencing in the other weapons. And that has
We
changed.
should run the marathon because we might not be able to make it.
Yeah, exactly. We're delicate, you know. But when I came to Duke, it came in 1985, and Nancy Hogshead had just finished competing in the Olympics in 1984, and I see that she's online here, and that was, I think, seeing like I think she came to campus at one point, and I saw her, and that was, I think, the first time where I thought, well, if other Duke people can do this, maybe I can too.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, great shout out to Nancy Hogshead-Makar. By the way, there's probably no bigger expert in Title IX than Nancy, so big shout out to you. All right, like you mentioned a bit, all of you, about the college experience. I would love to talk a little bit more about your Olympic experience. You know, when you first were either named to the team or when you arrived in the city you're competing at, whether it was London or Rio or Atlanta, just what that all felt like. And maybe if you could share your fondest Olympic memory, that would be great for everybody to hear and understand. Let's go reverse, Leslie.
For fencing in the Olympics, it's basically roughly speaking, the top 64 people in the world, the single elimination tournament of the top 64. And so to make the team, you have to be ranked in the top 64 in the world. And that ranking is based on international tournaments. So we traveled the world, and we were at competitions, university games and Pan American games and world championships all over the world. And it's not fun to be an American competing in another part of the world. People don't want to see the Americans win. And we have been spat upon and yelled at and booed. And so then my Olympics were in Atlanta in 1996. And a lot of people would say, oh, that's too bad that you were here in the United States. You didn't get to go someplace far away. And I am so happy to have been in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta representing the country in our country. So I was very proud to be a part of that. And then the best part of the Olympics are the competition itself. But number two is close behind it is the village, just the village experience, being able to be there in that mix of people. And there's still people that I keep in touch with that I met in the village.
So Carla, did you bump into Leslie in Atlanta?
I did not, unfortunately. Soccer was a little bit different, and I'll echo what Leslie said about being in Olympics in your own country. Probably the most incredible soccer experience of my life. You know, we as the group of soccer aren't in the Olympic Village. We were in different areas throughout the country playing our games. And we begged our coach, Tony DeChico, to let us go to the opening ceremonies, and he caved because we played 2 days after that, and he knew that it would be you know, a big event. We'd be up late. So the US Soccer chartered a flight for us. We went into Atlanta. We stayed in the village one night. We participated in the opening ceremonies, and that was just an experience that I will never, ever forget. You know, not just meeting athletes from your own country that, you know, you see on TV and in commercials and you know about, but never get a chance to meet them. And then also meeting all the other Olympians from all the other countries, I thought was a pretty cool experience. And so, you know, I'm fortunate and glad that we talked our coach into letting us go. And, you know, otherwise it just kind of would have felt like a regular tournament in the United States for us. So, you know, being an Olympian in our country and is something that you dream about, and we all dreamed about as kids. And probably the most memorable moment for me was, you know, standing on the podium. They had to make it extra long for all the soccer players to stand up there, and just to receive the gold medal around our necks was something I will never, ever forget. So that's probably it for me.
Pretty great. Pretty great. All right, Abby, you're up. You please share your experiences. Wondering if you had to take any exams in Rio while you were there.
No, I had like a month off while I was in Rio. But in London, I remember opening ceremonies also being just this incredible experience, and even better than what I'd seen on TV, the lighting of the torch, because when you're on the ground, you're they put you with your country between kind of two people where one's holding a USA sign. And so all the athletes stand behind that. And you're just running around meeting people, and everyone kind of has a respect for one another that they're an athlete at this level. So even the superstars that you see on TV all the time are like, oh, where do you train? Or where are you from? And so I thought that was really cool. But the most amazing moment was as we entered the tunnel to walk into the stadium, and there was this kind of nervous excitement, and then we started chanting USA, USA, and at that point I had tears in my eyes, and it was just so much pride for my country, and what it took to get to that point. So that was my favorite Olympic moment, and yeah, it's fun to think back on. Especially now sitting at home watching the games for the first time in over a decade. It's really great.
Yeah, I did want to touch on that a little bit, current events. If you had any point of view on, sort of Tokyo and how it's taking shape with, no fans, no spectators. It's obviously still a dream realized for so many athletes, but if you had any perspective on that and how it, it would feel as an athlete.
I think if you have never been to a games before, you might not know that, all the unique experiences that you get to do with opening ceremonies and going. Another really social place was the dining hall, where people would just sit with anybody at a kind of a cafeteria table. And so, my heart hurts for those who won't get that experience, but I still think representing your country on that stage and competing against the world's best is an honor nonetheless. And the anticipation with the delay of a year will really just kind of offset any of the losses that they may experience or may not experience.
I think for me, just knowing that there won't be fans, that's going to be a big change. One, they're fortunate that they're there and having to have an Olympics because, it was postponed in 2020. But I know for our event, we in Atlanta, we had over 80,000 people watching us for our games. And I can tell you the home crowd was a big part of us winning. And so I think that's going to be a lot different for, events that really rely on that crowd and, really have the crowd just there to encourage and to cheer. And it's going to be a lot different for the athletes.
Yeah, did you all have family in the stands? And I'd imagine maybe some support on that realm too.
Absolutely. All your family and your friends are there. And now I feel like it's just going to be the teams and, kind of their detail and their team, basically their support staff. So that'll be a challenge, I think, for the athletes competing for sure.
Leslie, anything you'd like to add on that?
Just that I feel sad for some sports. I think you peak at a very precise moment, and so there must be athletes that the pushing it back a year must have been really hard on their ability to compete. So I feel bad for. I mean, the whole world has suffered, I know, but I feel for those people as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I want to switch gears just a little bit. And have you sort of reflect on what Duke athletics and competing in college has really taught you from a life lesson standpoint and a leadership perspective. I know I always look back on my time playing at Duke, and I think about what I've learned and what I've done differently from those experiences. So I'd love to hear from you all, like how much has that experience stayed with you and honed your leadership skills coming off of that experience? And Carla, I'll start with you because I've heard so much about your leadership ability, and you've led some of the most amazing athletes in our country. So I guess we'll start there.
Well, I wasn't a Duke athlete, but you know, the years that I've spent at Duke, obviously they have taught me so many great life lessons, and the support that we've had from our administration, you know, has propelled, I think, our athletes in a lot of different areas. And so I just want to, you know, I appreciate the administration, just with their support. And, you know, just speaking of when I was in college, you know, you're with a bunch of people that are very like-minded. And growing up in Texas, playing club soccer, and then coming to a place, you know, Duke and North Carolina are very similar in that regard, that, you know, athletics is a big deal. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to, you know, to have great teammates. I learned how to be a good teammate. You know, starting from my freshman year, I was so homesick and cried every single day when I was there for a year. I'm sure all my teammates were like, God, who is this girl, and get her out of here. But, you know, the patience that they had with me, you know, kind of taught me how to, you know, to be comfortable with who I am and where I am. And, you know, just lots of people that kind of helped me get to where I am today. And I just am so fortunate and so appreciative of having both, you know, North Carolina and Duke people surrounding me. And I'm, you know, very thankful for that, and thankful that all the Duke people, you know, kind of
Embraced you, right? Like we're pretty nice to you, considering.
They were so, yeah, they're so nice to me and still are nice to me. And I appreciate that. And, you know, they welcome me with open arms, even though I graduated from the rival school. So I appreciate that. Lots of great people, I can say, are over at Duke, and fortunate that I've been able to work there for a long time. And the fact how they were so supportive of me. You know, I continued to play on the national team till after 2000, and got there in 92. So I was gone a lot training, and I just really appreciate the support that they had for me.
Nice. All right, Abby, you want to take us down memory lane a little bit, and then see how you've applied any leadership lessons to life?
Yeah, I think athletically, being a college athlete was really helpful, because there were so many competitions in swimming and diving season. Like every week you had a dual meet against another team, and I was always such a nervous competitor. But when you're competing week after week and on tired legs from the weight room, it kind of gave me this confidence that I didn't previously have, because my meets before that were really spaced out. It was like you went to regionals, you went to nationals, and then you waited, you know, a couple more months for that all to happen again. And so I think that collegiate athletics, you know, being a part of the Duke team was really helpful for me, and that translated to more confidence when I competed internationally. And then as far as kind of skills that I picked up along the way, Duke is obviously a very hard academic school, and I had to learn how to multitask. So, you know, it was practice in the morning, study at breakfast, go to classes, come back. And I think that multitasking has translated to a career in emergency medicine, where you have to be spinning a lot of plates. And you know, a lot of the other things that I have going on in my life, you know, I'm a mom of 2 kids. And earlier today I was, you know, breastfeeding her, pumping on one side, eating a sandwich, and watching the British Open. And I turned to my husband, I was like, if that isn't multitasking, I don't know what is. So, you know, it's a place where you have to be like at your best, using every minute to kind of get yourself to that next level. And I think I felt really inspired being in the Duke environment, because you're around the best athletes and the brightest students.
All right, Leslie?
Yeah, I agree with everything Abby said, that you have to, you learn to run your life in a way, you have to succeed. And my very best friends have come out of sports, in particular sports at Duke, and grateful for the sense of belonging, that was part of a team, and that it really, that team aspect really shaped my Duke experience. And I came back on the faculty to Duke in 2002, and being involved again in the athletics was one of the main reasons I was so excited to come back, because I've been either an assistant coach or a volunteer assistant coach since I've been back. And so I still am excited to be able to work with the Duke athletes and see them have that experience and see the value they're getting out of their athletic experience. And I think it's really great that Duke is taking the moment here to celebrate the women's sports in particular. They've come along. Women's sports have come a long way at Duke, just in my experience. There's one of my sorority sisters was Becky Curry, and she was involved in starting the Duke soccer team and having it develop from a club into a varsity program. So I have lived some of the initiations of a lot of these women's programs at Duke, and they've really put together a great set of programs and scholarships, and something to really be proud of.
Yeah, and like Nina says, we're just continuing to push ahead, right? I mean, the success that the softball program is having is just astounding, in 4 or 5 short years, just to be where they are and accomplishing what they are. And I just so excited about that and what the future holds. I did want to jump off on something, Abby, you said when you said Shannon Miller really inspired you, because you're also accomplished, and you've all shared so many wonderful, positive stories about your relationship to sports and to Duke. And yet we had Shannon Miller at an ESPNW event, and she talked about how she really suffered from a lack of confidence sort of growing up and competing, and that the only place she actually felt confident was in the gym and when she was competing. And I thought that was just so interesting because, on the surface, right, she just looks like she's got it all. She's got it all made. You would never think that she'd have any moments of doubt or any moments where she wasn't feeling like, a world-class Olympic athlete. So I just wanted to ask each of you where your kind of inner confidence has come from and how you've worked at that, and if it has been work for you. But it was kind of a revelation to hear somebody like Shannon say that, you know what, I wasn't a confident person. I only really was confident as an athlete. Anyone want to go first?
There's a little bit on just a very micro level in sports, and this must be true in soccer and diving, that in order to score, you have to believe that you're about to score. So you have to believe that this is going to be the perfect dive to have it be that way. So you have to develop that ability to train yourself to believe this can be done. And then I think it does translate into living your life in a way where you think, okay, this is hard, but I can do hard things, and I can visualize how this can be done. And so let's go do it.
Carla?
Yeah, I think for me, same thing. I had, 2 older brothers and an older sister. Basically, anytime I would get confident and was about to win something against them, they would just squash me, right? So, part of the reason why I think I was tough, because of them. But, certainly when I got into a school environment, you want people to like you and you want to have friends. And so, I had a little bit of a disaster my freshman year, and, was kind of forced to play right away because the whole defense had graduated. And quite frankly, I probably wasn't ready to play at that level. And so I was a mess and, wasn't confident and didn't think I belonged. And, gradually, as you get older and older, you just get a little bit more comfortable and realize that, hey, I was chosen for a reason and I can do this. And, my first time in with the national team, I didn't make the team. And so, having to go through that again with my confidence and, can I really do this? Am I cut out for this? And, got another chance and made the team. And, after 13 years, I definitely got more mature and I got more confident and, was comfortable. But it's definitely a process. And there are times when, I didn't believe in myself and I didn't even think that I should be playing collegiate soccer. And then with it, fast forward to the national team, same thing. And you go through moments, months or years or whatever, not having a lot of confidence. And, you go through that as an athlete a lot. And, fortunately, you're kind of able to get it together and realize that, you do belong and start acting confidently because you're there for a reason. And there was a reason that you were picked for that team.
Abby, any reflections on that piece?
Yeah, kind of going off what Leslie was saying with like, you have to think that you can do it. I was a little bit of a head case when it came to diving sometimes, but one of the things that I always tried to like imagine myself doing the dives perfectly, making the Olympic team, like what would it feel like to be diving in the Olympic pool? And it was something that I did, but I didn't really realize what it was until one time I was in the weight room with our weights coach, who's still at Duke, Carl. And he was like, did you ever notice when you're like having a hard set, you say to yourself, like, I can do this? I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I guess I do say that. And he's like, that positive self-talk is like not something that every athlete has. But like, when it was like, I don't think I'm going to make this set, but I got to do this. I can do this. And I say it out loud. And I think that kind of like, if there's a will, there's a way. And a lot of the times when I would, come up with a goal, I always had goal setting meetings at the beginning of every year. I would be like, okay, I want to win NCAAs this year. And then I'd like work backwards. Okay, what does that mean in terms of what do I have to accomplish along the way? And then those kind of little check marks gave me the confidence. So, I need to win an ACC title, or I need to be in the weight room 3 times a week. And like, as long as I was doing those things that I set out, I felt like when I was on the board, I didn't leave any stone left unturned, and that gave me confidence.
I would imagine too, do you each all continue to set goals? I know I kind of can't help myself. I kind of do, but I was just wondering, is that something, Abby, you're constantly setting goals, and I want to be the best breastfeeding mom?
I think I am still very competitive. So I think, like I'm still the type that like researches everything that I'm doing and try to do it to the best that I can. But yeah, and then, yeah, I think that's just ingrained in me.
Yeah.
How about setting goals of saving lives in the emergency room?
I gotta send
always
10 lives this month.
Yeah. Study harder, all those things. Yeah.
And
Leslie,
I just want
you seem like you kind of still have that kind of gene in you where you're constantly looking towards the future and what am I going to do next week? What am I going to do, next month? Do you still do that pretty regularly?
Well, for the I've competed in the Masters, the over 50 Masters, and so I that was a goal. Win the World Championships was a goal, and we worked back years in advance. Well, I'll have to start taking lessons again this year, and just have to go to all the competitions this year, and I'll need to be competing internationally. And so we built up the intermediate goals, and it was kind of fun to be back in that mode of setting the milestones and getting that done. And it was important to me to go exactly the year when I was 50, because there are these other women who are like a year or two younger than I am, and I've never been able to beat them. So I wanted to get in there before I had to go lose to them again. So.
And Carla, I'm sure you want to bring home some ACC championships for us, right?
absolutely. Of course, my goals aren't my personal goals really anymore since I'm done competing, but I had my knee replaced. So it's like, hey, if I can get a workout in today, this will be great. But, more my goal oriented accomplishments and, just goes toward the Duke team. And, obviously winning a championship, we want to win a championship because we haven't done that at Duke. And that's, we're working hard recruiting and getting kids to come that, hopefully will help us achieve that goal that we have. But yeah, ACC championships for sure, NCAA championships. But I just have to say kudos to Abby and Leslie, because they were like an individual sport. And, I was a part of a team. And so, I'm not up on the board by myself, I'm on the field with 10 other people. And so just what they've accomplished is incredible, because it's basically them against their opponent. And I think that's way harder than being a part of a team where you have other people on the field, playing with you.
Hear, hear. I think that's an awesome way to conclude. I don't know, Kelsey, if we have any questions from the folks. I know we have quite a few attendees, but I do want to thank you all for sharing everything you've shared.
Yeah, no questions, but I do want to give a shout out because in true Duke fashion, we have an incredible group of panelists who are all Olympians, and then we have other Olympians on the call as well. So a shout out to Nancy Hogshead and also Pam Buston, as those two have also competed at that level. So it's, again, in true Duke fashion when we have an Olympic panel and have other Olympians on the call.
I was wondering too, I mean, Nancy, I don't know if you're willing to come off mute, but like I said, nobody really knows Title IX better than Nancy and has fought for Title IX the way Nancy has. So perhaps you can grace us with a few pearls of wisdom and share what you're working on right now.
Sure. Well, first, hi, everybody. I mean, you guys were great. I love hearing these stories. You know, I'm a total sucker for them. It's, you know, like I hear the stories and I'm sort of already wired to, you know, love everything y'all have to say. Title IX is in the next year going to be 50 years old, right? So ergo the 50 for 50. So my organization, I run a nonprofit. I sent a link in the chat there, but we have a campaign called 50 for 50. We started sending letters to schools around the country. We literally spent millions of dollars having schools understand Title IX and what their numbers were and how they were discriminating against women. And that project failed. So we have switched strategies on how it is that we're operating. And we are getting groups of women athletes at different schools to come together, build a community, and have that group bring legal action against the school. We've been successful at Stanford, William and Mary, Dartmouth. We've got legal action going on at University of Iowa, Fresno, Michigan State. Anyway, lots and lots of schools all around the country that in order for schools, because sports are sex segregated, it's actually really easy to measure discrimination. It's really not easy to measure, like if somebody's not getting hired or if they have some adverse employment action, but that's not true when it comes to just the athletic department. So we are in the process, we'll probably have about 200 cases in the next year going. So I don't do the legal action. We hand them off after we create this community, kind of like what we're doing right now, create a community. Then we hand it off to somebody who really knows what they're doing and who doesn't just get some small request, but who gets overall equality in the athletic department in total.
Yeah, you've been a champion for so many years. So thank you for sharing that. You live it every single day. So Kelsey,
I have to. I was Duke's first full scholarship in 1980 in the swimming team, and I was also the first woman who was inducted into Duke's Hall of Fame, the Sports Hall of Fame. And I just can't tell you what a great community that Duke has been for me throughout the years. You know, it's really been a wonderful connection. I mean, Laura and I have talked at numerous Duke functions together, and it just keeps getting better.
So thank you. It's pretty an awesome way for us to kick off, the 50th anniversary. I think we're pretty much ahead of the curve here. So again, just thank everybody for being a part of this, and Abby and Leslie and Carla for leading the way. And sharing your journeys with us. And Kelsey, again, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And again, I just want to give everybody a huge thank you, from Win Athletics to Laura, to Nina, obviously, Leslie, Abby, and Carla. Obviously, this event would not have happened without you all, so we're very grateful. And I do want to make sure that, it is a bragging point for Duke. While the 50th anniversary of Title IX is coming up, Duke had women's sports prior to that. So that is a big celebratory event for us as we get to kick off our 50th anniversary a little bit earlier, which we are very proud of as well. But like Nina said earlier, this event is really just the tip of the iceberg as we continue this year-long celebration. And so there will be a variety of different events, again, hopefully some in person as we quote, get back to normal. And so we hope that you guys will be able to participate in those and attend those. There will also be obviously future virtual events to come as well, as we just continue to recognize the momentous anniversary. I am obviously a fundraiser by trade, so I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't give us a small plug for our 50 for 50 fundraising project. Not to be confused with Nancy's work, but the 50 for 50 fundraising project is something that we created, again, to coincide with this year-long celebration as a way to, while celebrating, also generate some philanthropic support for our women's athletic programs here at Duke. So it's called the 50 for 50 because we're hopefully going to find 50 donors that will make $50,000 pledges in support of Duke women's athletics. And there's a variety of different areas that you can support within that group. But I do want to make it clear that there are a variety of other opportunities to support at different levels. So if there is a will, there's a way. And so it's not just at that level. There are many, many other ways that you can give back. And as a follow-up to this event, we will be providing a follow-up email most likely tomorrow with some of that information. And if you have any questions or you want to make a donation, obviously feel free to contact me directly. I'm happy to walk you through that process. But again, I'm a fundraiser, so I wanted to give a short plug there. But we appreciate everybody here tonight. Again, it's such a thoughtful discussion, and being able to hear again what it's like at the Olympic level. I think I want to hire all of you as my life coach. So you'll have an email from me shortly. But again, appreciate everybody in attendance. It's been a great night. And as always, obviously, go Duke. So have a great evening.
Wow.